crazy today.
Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome to a very special edition of Cladding Matters. Of course, I have with me as ever Hamish McClay of Search Convey over on the right, and of course Steve Day of the buildingssafety.org. Now, Steve cannot stay with us for very long. Steve, are you there? He's on his phone, unfortunately, so it's hard. Well, okay. Well, let's start this off. Hamish, bring us up to speed of where we're at.
This what we've actually sort of had, which hasn't helped matters along, particularly with the work that Steve's doing, is that the family sort of tragedy there. So Steve is trying to help as much as possible with the family from last week, as many of you would have known. Situations are still sort of quite bad, so he's not able to sort of battle his way sort of through that at the moment without his presence. So here he is, just to give us a brief rundown, which I think we can do for a couple of minutes.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Apologies for not being able to stay for the whole one today. And thank you, as always, to Gareth and Hamish for the ongoing support. But no, we've had very disturbing set of days really here at Royal Artillery Quay. So firstly, a whistleblower from a firm reached out to tell me on LinkedIn that we got serious breaches of the gas safety regulations, and the building owners aren't taking that into account or taking it seriously or doing any action. So if they don't care about gas safety on 16-story blocks of flats, you know, what do they care about? Not very much. So there'll be more on the ongoing gas saga, but needless to say, I've managed to get the defects out of them, so we can list all the seals that are not sealed around gas pipes in these flats, and it's appalling. Anyway, that's coming next time, but we're right in the middle of that at the moment. But yeah, so on the council, so as you guys have been copied in, just for accountability, and also to give them, each individual councillor, A, the links to the evidence, B, the links to the council responses, and C, the links to what was sent a year to 2024 to Okereke, the leader of the council, with the evidence in. So they know that the evidence was sent, the council denied the evidence existed, and they saw the evidence. So therefore, there's no excuse. Now, only 2 of the Labour councillors responded. Jummy, who basically said, well, it's not my problem, mate. You need to go to the West Thamesmead councillors. And as we know, Councillor Spencer and Councillor Bafor are refusing to meet us, citing the fact that we've escalated it as a council complaint, and they don't have to meet us anymore, ever, because you dared to complain using official channels. Well, you know, so that's a lot of good. And then we've got the Mayor of Greenwich, David Gardner. So if you want to put that one up, Gareth, this is how the Mayor responded. Now, he just become Mayor, and he was a Labour councillor, and still is a Labour councillor, with a lot of influence over Anthony Okereke for over a year prior to becoming Mayor in the last few months. So this whole business of him being Mayor and he can't talk publicly, that's correct, but it doesn't mean he can't use his influence behind the scenes. So as you know, previously, I've said to each councillor, including this David Gardner, the Mayor, that you know, by your silence, it carries a position. It's not neutral. You're saying you agree that there is no evidence of unlawful construction at RAC. You dismiss the view of Stephanie Bar-Isaac says there is, and you also have a position where you are reluctant to do anything about dishonesty in public life. So this is basically what the Mayor says. Steve, how dare you put words in my mouth? I have never offered a public opinion on the matter, as I am not a ward councillor for Thamesmead West and have not been directly involved in an executive or scrutiny role. I am now Mayor. now mayor. Remember, he hadn't been mayor for a year. So he's been responsible for pushing this position through his silence for over a year. I'm now mayor ceremonial civil, where I am advised by convention. Yeah, well, he was advised by convention not to say anything before. Within the council or with the council, except obviously insofar as I continue to be an advocate for my own ward and our great residents. I trust you will appreciate and respect my position. Well, that's not good enough where you're putting a view of silence when great dishonesty in public life is being perpetrated by the council. And that is a position held by all the councillors in Greenwich. Their silence is allowing this to go unchecked. But let's go to the latest from Stephanie Barwise, who has put in a very helpful comment, basically just showing just how wrong this is.
Let me just load that up. I've spoken to Madam Barwise.
Yeah,
she has become recently one of my personal heroes. She is absolutely the person who is absolutely understands the position of it all, having been stewarding the Grenfell inquiry. So a very public figure who is willing to go on the record stating specifically about the Nolan principles of public life, and also pointing out right at the end about the Ethic and Integrities Commission and the new report on ethics in public life and the lack of candor. Now that's in line with the new rules about candor, is it not, Steve?
Well, the new Hillsborough law is going to make it a criminal offence for councils such as Greenwich Council misleading the public, and that is an issue because we've got dishonesty in public life, and that needs to be punished, and that's what the law does. But as Stephanie says, she says it's astonishing that despite you, being me, having repeatedly thrown down the gauntlet to Greenwich to admit that the reports showing breaches of regulations current at the time of construction exist, you are being stonewalled. And she says, whilst I quite understand Greenwich's desire not to engage in social media posts, and there is no reason why it should respond to me, because the chief executive said, I'm not going to be responding to Stephanie Barwise. What would she know? She's mentioned the Nolan principles of public life require councillors to act with integrity, openness, and to be honest and accountable. So that's basically where we are. And, you know, so we've given the councillors the opportunity to respond. We've got the view of Stephanie Barwise, which is also put in a lot more detail on the Substack. And we've got an issue where basically they believe silence and accusing me of all kinds of things and dismissing the residents and allowing us to live in these dangerous flats is acceptable. So next week we will be naming and shaming with a picture each individual councillor hasn't responded. My appeal to you, and I know you guys will have a little bit of a discussion when I've gone about this, but I would appeal to the council, each councillor, you've been emailed twice. For goodness sake, it's not too late to correct the record before next Friday at 1 p.m. Undo the damage your silence has done and just email us. We will we will read out any responses.
Yeah, you don't have to speak to us if you just want to send a note of some sort. That would be perfectly admissible.
We don't want to have to do it, but we will do it because it's got to the stage where dishonesty in public life, we've given now 3 weeks to my own personal circumstances, which can be helped, but you've had a bit longer. For goodness sake, reflect on this latest post from Stephanie, reflect on the fact that it's obviously a dishonest position. It concerns building safety. It's not been retracted for over a year, and it's public on a website right now, doing damage right now to 1,000 residents. We also now have gas problems we've got to think about. So for goodness sake, haven't we suffered enough? Please just correct the record. You've got another 7 days, 1 p.m. next Friday. But I'm afraid I better go, guys, because but thank you. I'll leave you to discuss.
Not at all. So thank you very much there, Steve. Hamish, it seems to me that perhaps they don't appreciate the ramifications of a correct admission and what that would mean to the residents going forward? Maybe we can outline that.
Well, what we do have to look at is what the law is that's actually going to sort of hit us in due course, as was mentioned by Steve briefly. As a consequence of that football disaster, it was found that people in a public position had actually lied and misled the general public as to what had caused the situation. After full investigation, it was concluded that that basically there was council, there was police, and goodness knows who else had actually sort of lied. And the commentary was they were reliable jointly and severally. Now, this is important because what we've got is a situation when this becomes law, which isn't very far away, and we add in all the other aspects which have gone wrong in this particular sort of situation. Each of the councillors were advised over 12 months ago now of information which they had already been advised of, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, but they were advised yet again of where exactly the situation was with Royal Artillery Quays. And they were asked to either agree or disagree. Now, they are councils responsible for their residents. So what we've got sort of so far, we do have the Green Party who've actually responded. They've put it to the top of their discussions.
They're about the only ones that have shown a positive backbone, frankly, if I can be brutally honest about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everybody else is obfuscated. They've danced around the head of the needle. They've none of them have quite. They're all fence sitting and hoping somebody else jumps first.
There was also the accusatory sort of aspect that mayor came along with. Well, he's been a councillor for during the time of all of these things being revealed. He's only become a mayor recently. He's still a councillor,
and he has influence over Mr. Okereke, so he could quite easily turn around to him and say, "Come on now, Anthony, do the right thing."
However, he's decided that he is actually not accepting responsibility for the failures that has been. He's been advised of all of the failures, and he's taken himself away or tried to take away for the responsibility, just to turn around and say, "I agree with Mr. Okereke," or "I disagree with him." And by not, he's got the information, so he's got the detail. So basically, by his absence of admission, he must agree with it.
Well, it's not good enough to sit on the fence. It's not good enough to take a neutral position, because taking a neutral position doesn't in any way help with insurers refusing to insure property, with ground rents and so on soaring, with them becoming like millstones around their necks, because no one will lay it down and say this was wrong, therefore it needs rectifying. And more importantly, this is wrong at the time of construction, therefore the builders must be responsible for it. They don't understand the ramifications of silence in this. To quote a quote I've said a number of times, I'm going to quote it badly, but the easiest way for evil to flourish is when good men stand by and do nothing. And that's what this is. They're standing by and letting it happen.
Can we, just one thing there, can we actually say they are good men? They are not good men if they're actually abdicating their responsibilities. Or even, they're just not admitting to anything at all, which is quite sickening in a way. I mean, we're fortunate nothing has occurred.
It's tantamount to watching someone that's on fire and then telling me that it's on fire and doing nothing about it. They have the water, they have the fire extinguisher, they could help put out this virtual fire before it becomes a real one. frankly.
But things were bad enough anyway. But we've now got the omission of the fact that the gas at the time of installation failed as well. So we've got fire doors that weren't actually put in. They can be seen. We still don't have the full evidence of the gas entirely, but that is definitely a serious risk.
Well, of course it is. A gas fire amongst the most serious of all risks. All we need is a force majeure just to top it all off. All right, I think due to the heat and everything else, I'm going to draw this to a close today. Hamish, thank you so much for helping put this on. Steve, wherever you are, we wish you Godspeed, and I hope that I don't know what to wish there. I hope you achieve the level of peace and goodwill that you're looking for. And to all of you watching, thank you so much for being part of this. A special thank you to Stephanie Barwise for sticking to her guns and being a stand-up person in what is a muddled, messy, blurry affair, which doesn't need to be, by the way. It is that way by choice of the various people involved. And once again, I give supplication, one more week, and we're going to name and shame everyone who has been presented with the evidence and yet still stands by and does nothing. Hamish, and all the rest of you, please look after each other and wear some sunscreen. Stay hydrated. Look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.
There's a tale about some folks with hammers and some nails. They'll promise you the moon, but their word always fails.